aren't uprisings all over the country, and maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the streets. This is a dictator.
Enemies of the state.
Show me where it says that protests are supposed to be polite.
Hey, welcome everybody to another episode of the Rebel Alliance. I'm your host, Aaron Bowman, and thank you for joining us on this special Saturday edition. And it's only special because I missed yesterday, because yesterday was off the hook. It was pretty crazy with everything that was going around here and work and lack of sleep and everything else. So taking kids to the doctors and that sort of thing. So that being said, we're doing a little special Saturday report. Today is Saturday. Yeah, Saturday episode here. So probably not a lot of you are going to catch this live, but if you do happen to catch this live, please let me know where you're tuning in from, what you're listening on, whether it's, Rumble or Facebook in the Facebook group or in YouTube. But that being said, let's get taking care of the housekeeping around here before we get into the topic today. The crisis alert, top news stories, Unveil, a world in turmoil. And boy, as this last week been crazy. Some of the stuff's a little bit older, but I really wanted to kind of touch on it, kind of to cover why associations are important right now, and why coming together with like-minded individuals or people that have a common goal is important. And then also, just getting some of that preparedness stuff out of the way and checked off the old honeydew list, so to speak. So I got my coffee. Hopefully you have yours too. It's the afternoon cup at this point, but let's get into some of the things as far as the housekeeping. So first things first, if you are looking for more content, you can always head over to the eastcoastpma.com. That's www.eastcoastpma.com. We have blog posts over there. We have older podcast episodes that you can listen to on there. We also have stuff just for our inner circle members, which we're having our phone call coming up this week. I believe it's this week. And then there's some other articles and stuff like that I throw up there, and information that you might find useful. That being said, we also have a shop there, so you can also get different items over there. But if you're looking for the item that's most requested, the DIY templates for associations, ministry, and churches, they're hybrid DIY templates. They are color coded. They are very easy to fill out, and for you to create your own documents to start your own association. You can get those again at East Coast PMA, or you can head over to the pmamanifesto.com. And if you are in the pmamanifesto.com group, there's usually some specials going on for members in that group. And at time to time, I throw up I throw up specials in the Facebook group and on the Telegram stuff. I let you guys know so you can get discounts and stuff like that. But there's also the PMA Manifesto over there that kind of squashes the 12 myths about associations. So that being said, if you are on the East Coast PMA website, there's some banners that you can click on that help kind of support the show. I just recently did a list of I think it was the basics for getting prepared. There's some stuff in there that I have personally used. Some of my stuff is older, so those are kind of like the newer versions of it, but you can find that post over there too. Those are all affiliate links with Amazon. So, the 30-40 cents I get from that helps, keep this show going, and, keeps the fam happy when I'm taking time to do all this research and do these videos. That being said, there's also the Liberty Dollar Financial Association link, East Coast PMA, if you want to get set up with an alternate currency for you and your associations, or maybe you just want something that's not going to add to the national debt by using the silver Liberty Dollar over there. So that being said, the last thing that I want to bring your attention to before we jump into some of this crazy whacked out news is that if you're like myself and you want to take back some of your own sovereignty, one way of doing that is getting a Start9 system and taking back your computer sovereignty. It allows you to do really cool things like run your own payment option. Instead of using like PayPal, you can use BTC Pay, which is all done through crypto. You can set up lightning payments. You can do end-to-end encrypted text messaging. You can run your own blog posts through Ghost. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Run your own chat GPT, and all the information stays with you. It's all in the .onion network. So when you're in your local network, it goes quicker. But if you're using the .onion, like if you're out somewhere using your phone or tablet and you're sending a text message, it takes a little bit longer, but it does work really well. And I know some of you have already used this code, so I appreciate it. But if you do get your own system set up, let me know about it, and then use the code Rebel Alliance at checkout to get 9% off. So that being said, let's turn on the comments here and see where everybody's chiming in from. And let me know if you've heard of any of these stories or if any of this stuff just kind of blows your mind. But the first thing that, there's been a lot that's come out of WEF, the World Economic Forum, if you've been watching over there in, I believe it's Switzerland, Davos. And this one, it's like they just want to make us all of this transhuman stuff. They all want us to be machines. And, you had Cortez on some video the other day, like, look at this stuff. It grows out of dirt. She had a winter garden going, like, really, this person's in our government. But, she says magic is, I think, one of the words she used. But anyways, ecocide is now one of the words being tossed around. And I'm going to play a few minutes of this video clip. You can find it. This is from the New York Post on YouTube. But this lady that's talking, I forgot her name now. It'll come up in the video when I show it. But she says, ecocide is mass damage and destruction of nature to be legally recognized as a serious crime and this is during a recent World Economic Forum speech, and basically saying that farming, fishing, and energy production is a genocide and needs to stop. So I don't know what they expect us to live on, but we will let's pull up this video here right now, and this will tie all this into why associations and self-sustainability, and there's a big comeback to this right now, and a lot of people are very interested in it. So it's important to start, if you have an association, to start getting your members together, depending on what your association is doing. But anyways, let's pull this up real quick here and take a listen, and let me know in the chat, for those of you who are on, if you can't hear this, that would be helpful. Crazy. Okay, I've linked everything that I'm showing today. Stuff's crazy. Everything that I've linked today, or everything I'm showing today, is linked in the show notes. So if you're on Rumble, if you're on YouTube, if you're in the Facebook group, when you click on the video to watch it, it should show all the links to all this stuff. Some of them I made bit.ly links or shortened links just because like the link was just so long. It was ridiculous. But that's just one of the crazy things that are coming out of the World Economic Forum, along with the whole take over the world type stuff. And, all these non-elected people are up there talking about, how they're going to, rule the world one day. So the other thing, and, it just keeps getting better. This whole, I'm all for hybrid cars, the gas and electric. I think that makes sense. But a full electric car is the most ridiculous thing, in my opinion, just because we've seen just in Chicago this past week how they all just died. And now you have John Kerry here on X claiming that what was he saying? That Biden has a very clear policy on electric vehicles, and that it's being attacked by disinformation, of course, from the right or the conservative people. And you just got to listen to this for a second. It just, no matter what goes wrong, they just want to keep pushing their narrative.
Disinformation. They've been trying to scare people about the range of vehicles, and there's range anxiety out there. But
all right, so That's only a few seconds of it. You can listen to the whole thing, but again, it's always about disinformation, even if it's the truth. Like, hey, it's a good concept, but yet the grid, the electrical grid, if you looked at in a past video, 40% comes from natural fossil fuels that powers the grid. Only I think it was solar was 9%, wind was 3%. But yet you want everybody to get these electric cars to make themselves feel good, to plug them into a grid that's all powered by fossil fuel, which, I suppose wouldn't be that bad of a thing if we weren't buying our oil all over the world and, and closing down all of our pipelines and stuff like that. But yeah. And then, when you look at this story coming out of, the WGN9, it has it right here where, let me see if I can pull it up for you real quick. Right here, where it says, EV drivers struggled to keep batteries charged amid winter freeze. And then it goes into how they had cars towed and they brought them to charging stations and they weren't working and all this other stuff. So, I just find it very interesting that, they want to keep pushing these narratives and this nonsense that all this stuff works. Like, I would like to see the technology get there, but I also don't think it's there right now. And so you see these people with these cards, and then if you want the winter package, well, you got to pay extra for that, and it's just not economical. But inflation keeps rising, the national debt keeps rising, and they want you to get an electric car that won't work in the winter. I suppose if you live in the southern part of the country, then maybe it might be halfway decent. But again, you're still charging not with solar or wind or any renewable, quote unquote, renewable source, but you're using fossil fuels, which, hey, I just find it funny that they can't ever admit when they're wrong. Now, this is starting to make headlines again. Originally, this was from what I've read, this was originally talked about in 2018, and it is called the disease X. There was a mock pandemic that killed 150 million people. Next time it might not be a drill. And this is from the Washington Post, and it goes in how the John Hopkins Center for Health Security ran this day-long exercise recently, but in 2008 it was originally talked about. And of course, they're trying to create cures for disease they quote unquote don't even know yet what it is. So anyways, let me bring this up on screen so you guys can see this for those of you that are watching the replay. So here it is from the Washington Post. They're talking about this here. They've got this whole, what would happen if there were a worldwide pandemic video. But if you head over to the John Hopkins, you have it right here, their Disease X Medical Countermeasure Program. And it says, as you scroll through and you read this, they don't know what it is. They just, know that there's something coming. Just like when Fauci was like, and this video is probably going to get me banned today, but when Fauci was saying, oh, well, President Trump's going to have to deal with a pandemic before the pandemic even happened. It's like they're all psychic, or they call, who was that lady from the 90s that had the psychic TV commercials? Why can I remember her name? I see her face right now in my head. But, they've got all this stuff they're talking about. And it says, the United States should fund a new dedicated Disease X medical countermeasure program that leverages technology and vaccine platforms most suitable for viral families that are likely to cause future catastrophic disease outbreak. So they don't even know what this is, but they're telling us again in plain sight, hey, guess what? The first go around didn't work so well, so we're going to try again, and this one's going to be even worse. So again, this is all in the show notes. You can go take a look at this, and it's just, I find it I don't want to say comical, but I find it very interesting that they just want to keep pushing all this garbage, and it didn't work the first time, so let's try it again. And it was just another way for them to divide the country. If they can't get it on the whole black versus white or racist type stuff or racism, then they're gonna do it against the vax and unvaccinated, or you want to wear a mask and you don't want to wear a mask, all that type of stuff. And it's just sad that we as a population fall for this stuff, and we let I don't no, I've never seen it anywhere where the John Hopkins Center is a governing body to make any laws or regulations or anything like that for us. That's, they're not any type of elected official as far as I know. And maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's very interesting that we have these clowns that are like, hey, guess what, something's coming, we don't know what it is, wink wink, but we're going to get something ready for you, so when it does happen, we can line you up and give you this stuff that we made in the lab. And it's come out in multiple sources that the whole last COVIDs came out not from a wet market, but I'll let you do your research on that. I'm probably already going to get dinged on YouTube for this video today, but I just find it interesting that we have fishing, farming, and energy is going to be ecocide now, according to these talks at the World Economic Forum, and that it's bad if you're going to be fishing. Now, I think if you're going to be commercially fishing and stripping all the fish and not having certain times of fish where you're going to deplete a fish line, then yes, or a fish species rather, then yeah, that's not cool. You got to do it not respectfully, but what's the word I'm looking for? You should do it where you're not gonna wipe out a species. It should be done, you should harvest certain times, just like you have deer season, you have small game season. Here in Connecticut, we have squirrel season. So it just depends on, setting it up to where you have to hunt or fish a certain time. But to say that it's a complete genocide and it shouldn't be allowed to happen because, a farmer's making money off of his tomatoes or whatever else he's farming, or his beef cattle. I mean, look at all the stuff overseas where they're like, oh, you can't have cows anymore because their flatulence causes, methane, and it's bad for the environment and all this other stuff. I mean, it's cuckoo land out there, folks. It really is. It makes you really wonder. And again, if you've read any of these articles or anything I'm talking about today, shoot it a message in the chat. Let me know what you think about this stuff, or if it's crazy like this where you are. At least in my area, I can still sell chicken eggs, on the roadside, and nobody's really going to squawk about it. No pun intended. I guess squawk is the best word. That's like a duck. I should have said no clucks intended. But anyways, like, I've talked to people that I've helped set up associations for, and like, they had people from the local government saying, hey, you can't sell your eggs to your neighbor because they haven't gone through some USDA process. And I find that like just absolutely crazy. Like, if I want to sell a dozen of my quail, duck, chicken eggs to my neighbor for whatever price, or maybe we're going to barter something, that's between them and I, not anybody else. If Mr. Smith next door says, hey man, I need some eggs, you got a dozen? Like, yeah, what do you got? He goes, oh, I got some bacon, just slaughtered a pig last week. Okay, great. Give me some bacon. I'll give you, 2 dozen eggs, or whatever it is. But, or maybe he's like, hey, I got a half ounce of silver, or I'm going to give you $5. Okay. That's between us. Why would anybody else need to be involved in that? And that's why I think these associations need to really start getting pushed everywhere and springing up. And we really need to start coming together to make change within our local communities, because you've got, nonsense like this where, they want to push the EV cars, even though they didn't work this past week in Michigan, or Chicago rather. And then you've got the, this fishing, farming, and energy is bad. It's an ecocide. And then the next thing that kind of worries me a little bit from the military background is there was a leaked secret military report reveals that it is exploring the idea of Russia being so emboldened by the United States abandonment of Ukraine, should never been there in the first place, that it also invades Poland, and it's not alone. This is coming out of Germany. There was this report that was leaked. Again, all this stuff's going to be in the show notes if you want to check it out. But the fact that Germany is beefing up for war and NATO is a little alarming. I know, from the onset of this, if you look at all the stuff, everything that had to do with the Ukraine was, listen, NATO is not coming any further. We're not going to be pushing into, or they're not going to be pushing into, Russia. This part of Ukraine has always been Russia. This is where Russia came from, if you look back historically. And Putin was just like, hey, this is it'd be like us losing Texas to Mexico, I guess, in the US. Maybe not that big of an area, but you get the idea. So they are now saying that, it's like these world elites, all these people at Davos and, at the World Economic Forum there in Switzerland are just pushing for World War III. Like, you've got some of these clowns saying, hey, you can survive a small nuclear attack. And listen, if one nuke goes up, they're all going up and we're all going to be 6 feet under and just obliterated. It's like that scene from Terminator where they go off and just everybody gets wiped out, right? Like, there is no small nuclear attack that you're going to survive. It's going to be bad news when that happens. So the fact that they're preparing for this, I get it. Like, I was in the military, we prepared for different scenarios. We had different battle drills we ran and stuff like that in Afghanistan and wherever we were. So, it, but to think that Russia is going to start pushing through when from the get-go, they were just like, all we want is what was ours, and I know it's really overly simplifying it, but it's kind of creepy that Germany, leaked this report, or somebody from the German military leaked this report. And then if you go over here, I'll show you real quick on screen. So if you look at it here, you can see the, where they talk about they're worried about the report, and you can come through and read this. And even though they say it's highly unlikely, like, I get it, but why do you have to have a secret report for it? And then what really, everybody, I think, kind of looks at the US as the world police, and I don't think we should be. We should be minding our own damn business. And I think, more people should read George Washington's farewell address, where he states that we got to keep the U.S. business and keep our sovereignty and our country safe and secure. And, obviously we're not doing that with the border wide open, and it's not a left or right thing. It's a security thing. As far as I'm concerned, you have these illegals coming across and committing murders and hurting people and trafficking kids and sex trafficking rings and all this other stuff. And we're not doing a dang thing about it. I mean, Texas is kind of starting to do some stuff now, but of course, the clowns in our government are telling them no, and we're going to kick you out of parks and stuff like that. And anyways, I'm trying not to get sidetracked. But my point is that you have NATO, the blue helmet people, right? And I've never had the pleasure of meeting anybody from NATO armed forces in my military career. I've worked with the Royal Air Force, Royal Marines, the ROK from Korea, oh no, I can't remember their name. The Afghan army, stuff like that. And but to see that this is happening, NATO holds the biggest drill since the Cold War, 90,000 troops. And this came out a few days ago, and I wanted to talk about it yesterday. But again, like I said earlier on, the day got kind of away from me. And so that's why we're having this special Saturday edition. And really, I'm just trying to prolong playing Fortnite with the kids and getting my butt kicked. But you have 90,000 troops, and I've done drills before where I was in Korea, and we was what was it called? We were working with the Wolf Pack. It was Fall Eagle, I think it was called. And it was defending different bases. We had special operations groups there. We're doing all kinds of this cool stuff. But again, I don't believe it was anywhere near 90,000 troops being called up. And you can go through and read this on here. But what I thought was interesting, that the exercise composed of a series of smaller individual drills will span from North America to the NATO's eastern flank close to Russia's border. And that's from this report here. I think it's right here. I got one eye only working today. The other one's driving me nuts with these floaters and cataracts and whatnot. But anyways, it's in here. And this is the special report here, this insider paper that you guys can look at. And it says it will involve 50 naval vessels, 80 aircraft, and over 1,100 combat vehicles. But the part that caught me, and let me just get this off the screen here, the part that caught my attention is when it said will span from North America. So that means our boys and girls, whatever branch of military you're in, well, everything except the Space Force, because they're off, fighting Battlestar Galactica, or whatever it is that they're doing. But you'll have your other conventional units involved in this. And does that mean that they're gearing up for World War III and bringing in U.S. military members to fight? Like, something about me doesn't like that. So, again, for those of you who are on, please let me know if you've heard of any of these topics or any of this stuff that we're talking about today. And, let me know what your thoughts are on it. And here's where I'm going to, so that's very discerning from, my military background, is that they're bringing this many troops together since the Cold War, which is very interesting. So that being said, this is why I think, or I feel that it is important more so now than probably ever, as things seem to be not slowing down, but speeding up with this election cycle, that that we start within our local communities building these associations. And why is that important? Because this stuff is going on across the globe. If you're a global person as opposed to the flat earthers, whatever you want to call it, the plane, the amount of warmongering, I guess that's probably the best word. And saying that you can't grow vegetables, you can't fish, you can't farm, cows are bad, trees are bad, this and that. It's like the crazy train is off the rails. And I don't think we're going to start seeing any change. We're definitely not going to see a change at the national level. It's going to be more of, okay, if we have an association, how can we start making change within our community? And this is where the associations are going to come into play. Now, again, like I've said before, you don't need to have, if you don't want to, you don't have to, get documents from me or have myself or the Angela's or Erica create them. You can do the DIY templates. You can do them on a bar napkin, or maybe you just want to fly by the seat of your pants and not have any at all. But the point is that if you have your association put together properly and you can start teaching one another and start leaning on each other, whether it's stacking firewood, fishing, more sustainability as far as growing groceries, growing gardens, so you don't have to go to the grocery store if this disease X comes out and the lockdowns to follow and everything else. Or if what if it is way worse than what they said COVID's was, and I had it twice, had a little cough, had a fever, it was like having the flu, right? It took my medication and I was off to the races. No point intended with the horse thing there. Never mind. Anyways, the point is that if we are building our communities locally, it's a lot harder for them to divide us. And if we start getting together and say, okay, we have somebody that's really good at farming or agricultural or hubicultural or hydroponics, and they start teaching the others in the group. And maybe you have one guy that's a really good hunter and trapper or just a hunter, and they take people out and say, hey, this is how you hunt. This is how you set up traps. This is how you get small game. Now we are building a closer, tight-knit community. And again, with any community, there's going to be some discord. You're going to have some issues amongst members or what have you. And that's why the bylaws and articles of organization are so important. So it spells out if there's any disputes amongst the members, how they're handled, and then what type of how one should conduct themselves within the membership. And then as we start to grow our members, we can then start using our associations to help, maybe push for a political, position in the local government. Like, I watch a lot of the local, town council meetings, the board of ed, sustainability committee meetings. And because I can't always make them, but like this week, I'm going to be making one because last month's meeting or early this month's meeting for the town of the town council was horrendous. They spent way too much time bitching and moaning about words because they offended somebody and they didn't provide equality and diversity, rural character. I'm like, we live in a rural town. We have farms, we have dirt roads. I don't know what to tell you. But anyways, but I think if more people start saying, okay, as a community, we're going to go to this town hall meeting because this is where one of our members are. We're going to come there and support them. And people start seeing these groups show up and they're peacefully, redressing their grievances with the local government, maybe running for some positions. And then, the biggest thing is just building everything out. That's going to be the way to make change. And then when they tell you that, you have ecocide is, like genocide for the planet, and that fishing and farming is terrible, well, you can be like, yeah, no, it's not. And we're going to continue to do it. The People's Herbalist, hey, what's up? Thanks for coming on the Saturday special, whatever you want to call it, just because I was busy yesterday. But yeah, these are just some of the news stories that I thought were just absolutely, some of them are bone chilling, especially the NATO one with the 90,000 troops being called up for a month-long exercise, which, is kind of concerning. And I think that as we No, thank you for being here. I appreciate you spending a few minutes this Saturday afternoon with us, or with me, I should say. And thank you for stopping by. And we'll be back to regular schedule Monday through Friday next week. But this is why I really try to do these videos weekly to really kind of get the fire going under some people to say, you know what, I've been thinking about doing an association. I've been thinking about maybe doing something educational type for children, or run some type of ministry, or I really want to get people together to understand how to forage better, because if you can't go to the grocery store, well, what do you have in your own backyard? Again, if you have a bunch of dandelions, you can only eat dandelions for so long, probably until you don't want to eat them anymore. But if you get that knowledge base, that knowledge that isn't taught anymore, and start to understand to build your community and do things together as a whole, you can really kind of think of like a beehive. You can build that hive, and you'll be amazed at how much stuff you can get done. Like when we do like barn raisings with Liberty, and we get together and we say, hey, this person needs this done, and we all get together as a group, it's amazing how much work even a small handful, let's say 5 or 6 people, can get done in a couple hours, compared to one person breaking their back trying to do it all themselves. So it's just one of those things where, if the ball keeps going in the direction that it's going in, it seems to be, or the the train's probably a better analogy. The train keeps going down the tracks the way it's going and continues to pick up steam. you know, with the election around the corner, we're what, mid 200 days to the election. It's gonna get worse. And if you've been watching, another good resource I didn't put in, if you're listening to this or watching the replay, check out Rebel News. No affiliation with the Rebel Alliance, but the stuff they're getting out of the Davos group, out of Davos, Switzerland, for the World Economic Forum is pretty impressive. They're able to corner some of these elites on the street and ask them really hard questions. And it just, all this stuff just doesn't make sense, and it's concerning, because you turn on the news now, and yeah, it's all about Trump and Haley and DeSantis, and who's gonna win New Hampshire. Who cares when you've got the NATO pulling up 90,000 troops, for a month-long exercise right at Russia's door? Like, can we stop poking the bear, NATO? Can you just like leave it alone? Ukraine lost. Sorry to hear it. They just were we needed to launder some money, so we made that happen. Now the money laundering's done, and let's move on. It's just I don't know. I hope more people start waking up. And I'm trying not to get like real fringe, real conspiracy theory down some crazy rabbit hole. But when you start seeing news like this, and what amazes me is, like, if I'm watching Newsmax or OAN, if you look at the ticker on the bottom of the screen that's always moving by, it seems like that's where like the important news is, but they kind of just flash on the screen for a second because they want you looking at something else. So just as always, do your own research, get out there, start looking at some of these alternative news sources, start looking at things, without any jaded glasses on, and just really kind of take it all in and start preparing for either you and your family, yourself, your association. But maybe you get together with your association or family and say, hey, look, there's something I found on the news. This crazy guy who always wears flannels was talking about it. And, maybe this is something we should be concerned about. Because what I hear a lot of, and I'll end with this, is that I want to start preparing more. I want to learn how to be a homesteader. I want to have chickens. And it's always, if I get this, I can do that. If I get this done, then I can do that. Listen, just do it. Whether it's working out, start doing some push-ups today, do 25 today, do 30 tomorrow. But if you want to have chickens, well, go get some free wooden pallets, put together the best you can chicken coop with it, because there's stuff online. Go to YouTube and watch chicken coop made of pallets, and you can build one for almost nothing, except maybe the cost of nails or screws, and then maybe some plywood for the roof if you don't break down the pallets to do that. But you could literally get chickens in a month or two if you just take the initiative and get started. So stop saying if I have this tool, when this happens, when I'm not working so much, because folks, look at the way things are going. They're not going to get any better anytime soon, especially with this election cycle. They're really pushing a lot of this stuff. And it's like the gloves are off, and whatever they can throw, they're throwing to see what sticks, what scares people, what keeps people in their house. So let's do ourselves all a favor. Let's start building our association. Let's start getting together with our local community and friends and start saying, hey, listen, we really need to get together. And I think, if you have an association, say, hey, I want to get chickens this spring. Who can come over and help me build a chicken coop? Guaranteed you're going to have 3 or 4 people if you have a good size association, or even a small one. They're going to show up and they're going to help. And that's what we really need to start doing. We really need to start taking some action. Hey, DeFrozen Dog, thanks for checking in today. I appreciate it. As always, thanks for being here. And that's kind of where I'm going to leave it at. We're at about 34 minutes. So, after this is done, when you listen to the replay or you're later on you're watching this, let me know if you've heard of any of these news stories and how, it is just a world of turmoil right now. It really is. And I really think we need to stop saying we're going to prepare. We really need to start preparing. And like I've said before in other videos, it's as simple as going to the supermarket and buying a couple extra cans, boxes of whatever it is you normally eat, have that food diary going so you know what you eat in a week, and then just start stacking up slowly but surely. If you've got a water faucet that works, fill some soda bottles. If you don't drink soda, I'm sure you can find somebody in your family and friends that does, or the juice bottles, and just start stacking some water aside. It's just small things like that, but you need to start somewhere, because if we saw from these stories, if fishing and farming's ecocide, and then you have these 90,000 troops in NATO being pulled up for a month-long exercise, and they're bringing in North America. It says from North America to the NATO's eastern flank. So that means our boys and girls, like I said earlier, are going to be over there too with this exercise, and that's not always a good thing. So that being said, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing this show and the podcast. If you're listening to the audio version, coming over to East Coast PMA, shopping around, using the links that support this podcast. And I will see you Sunday. We're really shooting for 1 p.m. And I will probably put some notes in the YouTube and different platforms as far as what time we'll be going live, so you have an idea. So if you want to jump on, ask your questions. And then as soon as I know February with the PMA Manifesto ladies, when our live video will be going on for a Q&A where you can come in and spend some time with us for about 45 minutes, I will make sure I get that out there to all the platforms a few weeks in advance. So thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I've got to go get a fire going in the fireplace because it's like negative out here in Connecticut. And I will see you all on Monday. Peace and have a good weekend.
Uprisings all over the country, maybe there will be.
People need to start taking to the